Imagine this. You're standing in a remote village far away from the usual tourist trail. No tour groups, no souvenir shops, just an authentic, untouched part of the world that few outsiders ever see. That's the kind of place our two guests today love to seek out. This is number 5 of 9 conversations with some of the world's most extraordinary travelers, recorded at the Extraordinary Travel Festival in Bangkok, November 2024. So that means we're almost halfway through this special series, and trust me, there's so much more to come. In today's episode, I sit down with 2 seasoned adventurers from Singapore. Cheng Tan and Redzuan Rahmat. These 2 have dedicated their lives to exploring destinations that most people wouldn't even consider. What drives their passion for travel? What's it like traveling with one of the strongest passports in the world? And why do they prefer the immersive route over the typical tourist trail? They have some fascinating stories and unique perspectives, and I can't wait for you to hear them. My name is Palabo. Welcome to the Radio Vagabond. Extraordinary travel, Singaporeans who go beyond the tourist trail.
Meet Palabo. At the age of 50, he made a bold decision. He sold everything and set out on a quest to visit every country in the world. This is the Radio Vagabond.
Before we start, let me remind you that this episode is supported in part by Hotels25.com.
Have you ever noticed that finding a decent hotel, it's like winning some kind of internet scavenger hunt? Hoping you haven't missed a better offer somewhere else, you know?
Yeah.
This site, Hotels25.com.
Okay.
It's going to make booking travel way easier and cheaper.
People want simplicity.
It can be so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And Hotels25.com is like the super powerful search engine.
Gotcha.
So instead of you going to Booking.com and Expedia,
Right. A million tabs.
it pulls all those prices into one place.
That's the idea.
So less time scrolling and more cash for
Way back.
pina coladas on the beach.
That's the hope. Yeah. Hotels25.com. Make sure you're getting the best deal.
So guys, the Singapore passport is widely recognized as one of the most powerful passports in the world, and it consistently ranks near or at the top of the passport rankings because of its visa-free or visa-on-arrival access to an extensive number of countries. And this year, 2024, the Singapore passport was ranked first by the Henley Passport Index, which measures global mobility of passports, making it the most powerful passport in the world. Do you see that as a golden ticket to the world?
Go ahead.
I think it really depends, right? The top 10 are fairly close to each other in terms of the points. I think there's a point system in the Henley Index. Yeah. And those countries that rank number 1 versus rank number 2 and number 3, maybe it's just one country difference. And sometimes, it actually doesn't matter that much in reality. I mean, having visa-free access, that is useful. Yeah, and for people who want to cover 193, there are still some fairly difficult visas to obtain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The advantage, I guess, if you're somewhere in the upper echelons of having a good passport, it may not necessarily be number 1, but like what Cheng said, if you're somewhere in the top 10, top 20, I think it would be definitely a lot more beneficial than if you're comparing somebody from an LPI at the bottom end of the scale, when trying to get somewhere to clear 193, for example.
Yeah. Let's just figure out who you are. You're both from Singapore. Can you introduce yourself and let me know a bit more about you?
I'm Cheng. I mean, both of us are born Singaporean. I also studied in Singapore, but I've also studied in the UK as well. And I work as an academic at the current moment, teaching in a university. I think maybe the difference between us and some of the travelers that we meet the last few days, some of them appears to be traveling sort of almost full-time, but both of us have got full-time job and we've got family and children at home. Yeah.
So how much have you traveled?
How much have I traveled? Now, I have been to 189 UN member states. Yeah. But that is not to say that although of course I try to cover all 193, but there are still many places within those countries that I've visited that I want to go to and I haven't been.
Yeah.
So there are lots of places that I want to visit in detail. There are also places that I return from time to time and will return.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And Red?
So for myself, I'm Red, short for Redzuan.
Redzuan Rahmat.
Yes, exactly. Redzuan Rahmat. Yeah, so I am not as well traveled as Wee Cheng and probably yourselves. I'm at 109 UN countries. And right now, I try to balance my family with my 2 kids, and work and travel. So I balance between these 3 things: family, work, and travel. Yeah, I kind of started out. I discovered traveling via Wee Cheng, who is actually the main guy who set up the Singapore Travel Club.
With a few people. I'm not the only one. Yeah.
Okay.
There were a few people, and then Wee Cheng was one of the main guys who before that, all I had were, if you recall, they had the Thorn Tree Lonely Planet forums. That's where I got all my information from. So you had all those online forums where if you're trying to get to country A or country B, back then when I wasn't traveling so much, that was my source of information. So I was really glad to find that there's such a club in Singapore. So I kind of contacted them and found out that they gathered every month. And when I joined, I listened to all the stories from all the other Singapore travelers, and it kind of like influenced me. So I took my gap year, 1 year off work, and then I decided to take a break to travel, kind of because of SG Travel Cafe.
Yeah.
Those were the guys in the sessions that gave me ideas of travel. Before that, I did not even consider that possible.
Yeah.
The ultimate destination for armchair travelers who are looking for inspiration to get out into the real world and let loose their wanderlust. This is the Radio Vagabond. Gotta keep moving.
So how long time have you been, really traveling a lot?
I think since I was, I think maybe about 30 years since I graduated from university, I have been started work. I have been traveling during the annual vacation leave, and I have also taken career breaks to travel. So I have taken 1 to 1.5 year breaks on 2 occasions to travel. Mm-hmm. So that is since the 1990s, 30 years now.
But you're only 35 now, right?
Oh, you must be joking.
Bravo.
Yeah, I couldn't get the math to work here.
Right. Yeah.
How about you?
So then 15 years of travel. So after I left my job, and then I did a bit of traveling. So my travel, I think you can break it down into 2 phases. So the first phase was before I got married. After I was traveling a lot more, like as a backpacker, longer trips, 4 months, a year. And then I had a family and I have kids. So now I'm trying to, like I said, limit my travel, balance within work, travel, and family. So that's my second phase of my life. So I'm trying to go along there and try to complete as many countries.
Do you ever take your family on trips?
I do. The type of trips I do right now can be broken up into trips I do on my own, trips I do with my wife, and trips I do with my family. So there are certain places where, like Mogadishu, I will not bring my family. Not at this time anyway, because my kids are pretty young. And there are certain places where, Japan, New Zealand, more friendly family trips.
Yeah. Now, Singapore is a great place. It's an amazing country, and it's also a little bit of a hub for global travelers.
Yeah.
But it's so expensive.
Yes.
Is that an advantage for you, that you feel that the rest of the world is so cheap?
In a way, but perhaps it all depends on where you are going to. Yeah. Of course, if you are going to major centers in developed countries, that can be fairly expensive. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Singapore is expensive, but if you know where to go, prices can be quite affordable. Yeah. For example, eating in certain places in Singapore can be cheaper than most international financial centers if you know where to go. Like for example, going to the hawker centers instead of going to a Michelin restaurant, for example. And you can have fairly good food at fairly affordable prices. Yeah. So it really depends. And sometimes traveling in certain countries with less tourists, perhaps it could be poorer countries, but if there are very few tourists there, the cost of traveling there can be quite high for for the foreign tourists. Yeah. So for example, certain African countries, right? If you want a certain minimum standard of qualities of tourist services, it can be quite expensive at times. Yeah. And because as tourists, you don't normally know where are the cheap places or low cost places. Yeah. You focus a lot on what is convenient and what is visible to you as a tourist who are there for just 1 week or 2 weeks.
Yeah. So what are your travel styles now? Is it luxury hotels or hostels or buses or flights?
I started off as a backpacker, but over time I have focused more on a bit of comfort as I get older. I focus on comfort. I focus on perhaps getting to places faster. Instead of taking a long overnight chicken bus journey, I may opt to either drive around or get someone to organize a customized tour with friends, and then go to places that may be difficult to go on public transport. So focus have changed. Level of comfort, I'm not a luxury traveler, but I can't go backpacking. I don't stay in hostels anymore. I want a certain minimum comfort level. At this stage of my life.
Same for you, right?
It's similar. I mean, the way I started out, it's really basic, cheap hostels and a backpack. So over the years, I've kind of like built up a certain level of resilience. So right now, whilst you have the means, because I've been working for a while now, a bit older, but then I also have to be mindful that right now I have a family. So think about travel. You can spend a lot, yes, but there are bills to pay, there are school fees to consider, and things going on elsewhere that make me think twice about splurging on 5-star hotels or nicer places. So I try to keep costs low as much as possible.
Yeah, should you get this special thing for your kids or that hot air balloon flight? Or, it's like, Now you mentioned food before, and Singaporeans are famous for their love of food, and you can get some amazing food in Singapore. I think it was the first, and if not the only, street food place that was a Michelin-starred place. So have you seen any good food around the world? Where's the best dish you discover somewhere in the world that can rival the Singapore food?
I would say Thailand is a fantastic foodie destination. Perhaps I may even rank it as number one, perhaps, at least from the viewpoint of a Southeast Asian.
Is it because you're in Bangkok right now?
No, it's not that. I mean, it's my frank opinion. Bangkok, like for example, to attend this conference, right? First thing that came to my mind was, okay, I need to plan a few foodie trips out of the conference to go to some of the places that which I have visited in the past, love, and some new places perhaps. But looking at the schedule of the whole conference, I quickly realized that it's impossible. It's too tight. I can only eat within the conference premise. I don't have the time to get out of the conference premise to try out new places. So that was maybe a slight marginal disappointment. But Bangkok is a fantastic place for food. I always have a long list of places that I've enjoyed and want to return, and new places I want to try to go.
And Red, if you could teleport to any country in the world just for lunch, where would you go?
Probably Indonesia.
Indonesia? Oh, you're very much Southeast Asian based.
I mean, I love Thai food as well, like Wiching says, but to me, I think Indonesia, maybe because we are Southeast Asian, so I need my rice. My rice and my sambal, the belacan, the sweet spicy Indonesian coconut curry, that kind of recipes. Those are what I go for. So Indonesian, definitely.
I think Mexican, Italian, Japanese.
Tokyo to me is another great foodie destination.
I was just there before coming here.
Fantastic food, very reasonable prices, even for Michelin places. And in fact, you don't need to go to Michelin places to enjoy good Japanese food. The standard of the average eatery or restaurant is very high everywhere in Japan.
It's hard to get any bad cooked food in
You can walk
Tokyo.
into a random Japanese restaurant or small eating shop and you can find very good food. And there are no awards or whatsoever for that particular establishment.
And I thought I had great sushi around the world until I came to Tokyo because it's just on a whole other level. Yeah.
I think the Japanese food ranks pretty high amongst many travelers.
Yeah.
This conversation is recorded with a wireless microphone set called Nomono. It's from a Norwegian startup that's changing the game for recordings on the go. This thing is awesome. Once I record it, I connect it to their app and it automatically uploads to the cloud. With a few clicks, I can use the AI to enhance the sound quality, making it sound really top-notch, even in a noisy environment. It's incredibly easy to use, perfect for anyone wanting to capture professional audio without the hassle. If you're curious and want to learn more, check out their website at nomono.co. Give it a look, you won't be disappointed.
Now, Red, you have an interest for unrecognized nations and exclaves. Why is that?
Did not initially start off from anything. So I was traveling from Egypt down to Tanzania overland. And I saw that, hey, why not make a little tour to Somaliland? Yeah, because Somalia is a little bit more difficult, maybe, but Somaliland is possible. And then when I did that, I realized that, okay, this is pretty interesting. There's a bit of history regarding how the unrecognized or partially recognized nation-state country came about. And I looked up the list. So how many are there, actually? Looking at the list, maybe there are 9 or 10 currently. Yeah. So I thought, it could be possible to visit them all. And then I did a bit of research and I spent a bit of time and it took me, I don't know, 10 years maybe. Yeah. So I've visited all of them. And then right now I'm trying to see if it's possible to visit all those other little territories that are out there. Yeah.
What's the most unusual or challenging destination you've done?
Maybe if you're talking about the unrecognized countries, North Ossetia. North Ossetia was
South Ossetia.
South Ossetia. I'm sorry. Yeah, you corrected me there.
South of what?
South Ossetia. So it's a breakaway region of the Republic of Georgia. I mean, it's.
Oh yeah.
So it's right now only accessible from Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually went there with a tour. So there were some considerations trying to get there because you need to know someone for one thing, and you need a double entry visa for Russia because you need to go back into Russia after that.
Right,
You're not allowed to exit into Georgia. And then just getting to the Russia border regions, you need additional paperwork and So that was a little tough, but I think there are not too many people who have visited there.
No.
But I found that
was it unsafe?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, not unsafe at all. It was perfect. I mean, we were there. It was a little different because there's a bit of Soviet remnants influence a little bit over there.
Right.
It's still going on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Was it on the same trip that you were chased down by a taxi to Georgia?
No, it was not. That was another trip. Yes.
What happened there?
Well, on that trip, I was on a bus from Trabzon to Batumi. Yeah, so it was an overland bus. And the bus was actually headed onwards to Tbilisi, but I got off in Batumi at around 2 a.m. So when I got off the bus, I realized that I left behind my laptop on the bus, and the bus had just gone off. So they dropped us at the bus station, 2 a.m., nobody around. There was this cab driver who was there and he was asleep. So I, just nudged him and said, "Hey, that's my bus. Let's go after it." I left something behind, trying to communicate in sign language and whatever. Just go after the bus. Yeah. And then what happened was a kind of like high-speed chase, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Just me going after. And then he was high-beaming the bus. Follow that bus. He went on for, a couple of kilometers maybe until it caught up. Then horned the bus until the bus stopped. I got up the bus and then everybody was, rubbing their eyes and what is going on. I came in, grabbed my laptop and yeah. thank you, a lot of profuse thank yous. And fortunately, I recovered because all my photographs, everything was inside the laptop at the juncture.
That was in Turkey or Georgia?
That was in Georgia, just after we crossed into Georgia.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Wee Cheng, as somebody who's visited 189 countries, UN nations, you're very close to 193.
Yes.
Which one are left?
Which ones are left? Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, Equatorial Guinea, Afghanistan, and Iraq.
Okay. Are they going to be a challenge for you?
I'm still working out how I could obtain the visa for DRC. So, Singapore passport is not it may be right there at the top, but there are issues that we have difficulty over. Like, for example, getting a DRC visa. And firstly, I can't get definitive information on how I can obtain a DRC visa in Singapore. It sounds highly complicated. Yeah. There are people who have gotten it from various DRC embassies in Africa, but from my past experience while traveling through Africa, when I go to DRC embassies in some of these countries, the embassy will tell me, if you're not a resident here, I'm not going to issue a visa to you. And there are also stories online about people who have gotten DRC visas in Africa, and when they reach the DRC border, they are refused entry because the visa wasn't issued in the country of residence. So that DRC visa, when issued in a separate country, that you don't reside in, it can be rejected on the border. So the rules are not very clear cut, and there's no DRC embassy in Singapore.
That's going to be a challenge for me because I'm not a resident anywhere.
Okay.
So
because you are moving around all.
I have a Danish passport, but I'm not a resident. So that's interesting. Yeah. I've heard that you are very good at befriending people in every corner of the world. Can you share a story about a random connection that turned into a lifelong friendship?
A random connection. Years ago, maybe 20 years ago, when I was traveling on the Trans-Siberian Railway, I then got to know a Russian military officer who, knowing that I would be ending up I'll be heading for Vladivostok at the eastern end of the railway, then said, why not come and visit me? So I did.
Was he surprised that you actually took him up on it?
No, he wasn't totally surprised, but it was an interesting thing that happened because I then got to know his friends. So I was introduced to his friends, and there was this couple that eventually became my lifelong friend, and we continue to keep in touch, and they have visited me twice in Singapore,
and
on one occasion staying at my house, and I've also met them in places like Bangkok and China as well. Yeah. So it's one of those friendships that was struck out in the most unexpected way. There was another interesting incident. 9 years ago when I was traveling around Turkey, I was actually thrown off the flight because it was overbooked, the return flight to Singapore. And I was then I was given a room to spend the overnight and take the next flight the next evening. Mm-hmm. Then suddenly I was sharing a room with a young Indonesian backpacker who was also thrown off his flight. And then, as it turned out, we became friends. Ever since then, I've met this Indonesian guy. He comes to Singapore once a year, maybe once in 2 years, and we will have a meal together. And in fact, a few days ago, I think that was, about 4 or 5 days ago, I met him for dinner in Singapore.
Wow.
So that was quite unexpected.
Yeah. You have something similar, Red?
Yeah, I mean, so there's this one story about my time traveling in Lahore, which is in Pakistan. So I was maybe 10 years ago, maybe. Yeah. So I was just walking around the streets of Lahore when this bunch of locals just came by and said, "Oh, where are you from? We're interested to know where you're from." So I told them I'm from Singapore, and they introduced themselves. They are medical students who are on a visit, like an excursion from their state further south in Sindh. And they were up in Lahore, just looking around the area, and they said that they'll be headed back the next day and asked me where I was going. I said I was going up north to the Gilgit area, just up north. And then they said that, okay, if you're ever going down south, come and visit my village. Yeah. And I said, okay. I mean, at that point in time, I had no intention at all to going south. Yeah. But 3 weeks later, I came down and I realized, okay, I need to fly out of Karachi in the south. So let's just pass by, stop by, maybe have a coffee with the guy and then just leave. Yeah. So I texted him and said, okay, one of them who I was, had a number to, he said, okay, I'm going to take up your offer. Let's go and grab a coffee and I'll go south. I reached there. They picked me up at the bus station and they said, oh, you're not just going to have a coffee. You're going to come over to my village. And I said, okay. I head over. And then, I realized that when he mentioned, come to my village, it is literally his village. He owns the, his family owns the entire village. So all the workers in the village were all his extended family, and either that or they worked in the fields for him. So he was coming from a quite well-to-do family. Yeah. So he insisted that I stayed a night there. I ended up staying 2 nights. They fed me, showed me around. So it was a really amazing experience. I still keep in contact, have their numbers and insight, and they're all doctors now today.
Yeah. Wouldn't you agree that that's one of the things that travel gives us the most is the connections you make when you meet somebody and they just become friends.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But traveling overall is something that can teach universal lessons. Are you different people because you've been traveling?
I think it makes me more empathetic of different people and their concerns, their daily concerns. It also helped me to realize that in some ways people, in some ways of course they are different because they are in a different culture zone and different mindset. But in many ways we are also concerned with how to get on with life, how to ensure that our families can lead a good life and how to be a good person. And whatever religion one subscribes to, they all teach people to be good and to be nice to each other and to be friendly to visitors from afar. Yeah, that's what I have realized over time.
Yeah.
Ray, are you trying to inspire your kids to become travelers like you?
Oh yes, definitely.
How old are they?
So I have 2 girls, 7 and 8.
Yeah.
7 and 8, still young. Taking them out for little daddy-daughter trips before to nearby places in Malaysia, in Kuching, Kuala Lumpur. That's to kind of inspire them as they grow older to look at things, to learn, because I feel that through traveling, you learn the most. I mean, you can have your education and everything, but through travel, you meet people, you learn about different cultures, and you grow as a person. Yeah. So that's my take, actually. Yeah.
Finally, what's next for you? What's the next, is there a dream destination? It can be within a country you've already been to, but a place that you want to go to next.
So for me, I'm into regions and territories. So I have, Tristan da Cunha. It's one of those places I want to go to.
Which one, sorry?
Tristan, a little part of the St. Helena and Tristan da Cunha islands in the Atlantic.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the overseas territories of the UK.
Yeah.
That one. And possibly Tokelau. So these are the more inaccessible places, which I don't think there are too many flights that go there, so it takes time. Yeah,
it does. Yeah, and expensive.
Exactly. Yeah.
Are you just focused on getting the last 4?
Because I'm quite close to completion.
You can smell it.
I can smell it, but I'm also trying to balance with my family obligations. And for instance, next month we are actually traveling to Japan, to Hokkaido for a family skiing trip. Yeah, so that's the most immediate trip. But next year I have plans to go to Afghanistan, and I'm still trying to figure out the DRC visa situation.
And at this conference, Extraordinary Travel Festival, there's so many people that's been to Afghanistan and had great experiences.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
I haven't been there either, and I really want to go now.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this festival? How's it been for you?
It's amazing. I mean, the great thing is that I get to meet a lot of people that I have been exchanging messages.
You know them on online, Facebook, and then you meet them
online. But we have never met face to face, and some of them I've known them for over 10 years. Exchanging views and news about traveling, information. What are the tips? We have been discussing these things for a long time, but we haven't met face to face, and suddenly we meet them.
Yeah, exactly.
Very true. It's incredible. I mean, you meet very, very well-traveled travelers with 193 yuan, but also you have the not as well-traveled, but still well-traveled people here, coming here, and then you meet all these new faces, you meet old faces, so you kind of expand your network, and you get so many ideas about new places to go to, just from this festival alone.
Exactly.
And we meet you.
And I get to meet you, and I thank you so much for taking your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's it for today's episode, but as I mentioned, there's so much more to come in this special series from the Extraordinary Travel Festival. These interviews drop every Saturday, and next week I have another fascinating conversations with travelers who sees the world from a whole new perspective. But before that, I have something special coming out this Tuesday. We just wrapped up a 4-part miniseries from Iceland, exploring its breathtaking landscapes, quirky culture, and Viking heritage. But there's one thing we haven't covered much up until now: just how ridiculously expensive it is. So on Tuesday, I'll take you to a supermarket in Reykjavik to check some prices. And then I'm speaking with none other than Nomadic Matt Kepnes, the legendary budget travel expert. He's about to release a brand new edition of his best-selling book, How to Travel the World on $75 a Day. And I'll be asking him the big question: is it even possible to travel cheaply in a place like Iceland? We'll dive into some practical tips, budget hacks, and how to make an expensive destination more affordable. You don't want to miss it. That's this coming Travel Tuesday. My name's Palabo, and I gotta keep moving. See ya.
Radio Vagabond. Produced by RadioGuru.co.uk.